Welcome back to our garden here in southwest of Ireland. It is early September and there's a little bit more of sowing and growing to be done. I don't use seed compost to sow the seeds. I actually use just standard multi-purpose compost, but I do like to sieve my compost. And the reason is, obviously, there are always going to be big particles in it. And if you think of the little seed roots, they can't get themselves around it. And especially when you end up sowing into small module trays. If I take a couple of these, it fills nearly a quarter of it, or at least a third of it, if there's some of it together. And it would just not help the seedling, that little tiny seedling, to take up its water needs as easily, and the aeration as well. So this is all just going to be put into big beds. Now the list of vegetables I'd be sowing in month of September isn't going to be that different from August, but there's going to be less of it because there is going to be less time for some of these vegetables obviously to mature, or for others there are going to be just sort of sitting over winter until they get going very early spring again. And probably most of them are going to be grown then on indoors in the greenhouse. I don't think I'd leave that much outside to be growing. But it is something that I am going to sow that's very different from any of the other sowings that I've been doing so far. And also I will give you an update on the exotics that I planted earlier in spring, because I haven't touched that subject yet. So that would be update on the oca, mashua, ginger and yacon. So there's 4 exotics that I'll show how they're doing. Now I have prepared my Charles Stouting cell tray, and this one is the 60 one, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's a 60 cell seed tray, and I'm going to be sowing into that. I have moved my whole sowing setup outside today because we're having a mini heat wave and it's glorious. It's like 25 degrees, so there's no way I want to be in the greenhouse. And again, the parasol over my head, it is so comfortable. It's true sort of summer feeling, even though I can't believe where the summer has gone. So the very first thing that I'm going to be sowing is going to be spring cabbage. I had it done as last month's sowing as well, and I never did it. But as it is very early September, it's absolutely okay. It's exactly the same time frame, so it won't make a difference. And the beauty of the spring cabbage is that you can harvest the outer leaves before you wait for the heart to mature, or you could just keep harvesting the outer leaves. So spring cabbage is one big thing. Continuing with brassicas, kale, Nero di Toscana, more of that. I'm literally sowing just 1 per cell. You could also sow 2 per cell, but just take out the weaker one. The next one on the list would be spinach. Again, it's perfect now once the weather starts to cool down for the winter season. And the last I will sow into the cell tray is salad rocket or arugula, and that is different from the wild rocket I have here outside because it's just so much milder and the leaves are much bigger as well. But it's nice, and I had it growing over in the greenhouse over winter as well last year, and it was nice to be able to harvest it from there. Now another thing you could be sowing in September would be carrots, but I won't sow them anymore. Whatever we have is what we'll have this year. If we run out, I'll just have to buy it. And the rest of the sowings I'm doing just into the seed tray, and I can prick them out then later once they have emerged. And that is lettuces. So lettuces are going to be a big thing now again once the summer heat is gone, and to grow them under cover than in the greenhouse. I'd have, which is the most sort of cold tolerant, is the lamb's lettuce or corn salad, and they're growing otherwise very slowly. And then I just have some leaf mixes, and also I'm doing mustard green frills. It's probably too much now there. And then the mustard golden frills, that was visually the nicest lettuce to grow because it was just so fun looking, and it was tasty as well, obviously, but also that the slugs couldn't hide themselves in between those frilly leaves. So and they will just need the smallest of sprinkling of soil on top of their seeds. And finally, the update on these exotics. And obviously I'm delighted to say they're all still alive. And I think especially the happiest I am is about this plant, which sort of started me getting even the mashwa and okwa, which is a yacon. So, and why I'm the happiest about it is because the very first tubers I had, I killed them just because I was storing them wrong. I should have stored them a little bit more like a dahlia tuber in the dark and in slightly humid conditions, but I stored it like a potato, like I did with the mashwa and the oca. So, but luckily the supplier got me new tubers of it, and it's doing very well. So first of all, it's been in the greenhouse here ever since the frosts were gone. So really from June onwards, it's been with basil on the table in the greenhouse, and it is growing. I'm not harvesting any of it this year. I'm going to store every bit of these tubers over the winter and then replant it in the summer again, because it is not frost hardy. So it would be a little bit more delicate from that side of it. And you are eating the tubers. So actually out of all of them, you're eating the tubers. This is what you want. It's under the soil, under the ground. Obviously I can't show you any of that yet, too early for that. But then in the very front I have ginger, and this has been actually in our living room throughout the summer and will go back there. I only brought it out for this video purpose here for you. It hasn't put out any flower stalks yet, but the leaves are all really green. I would have expected now to some of it maybe start growing a bit more, going a bit more brown by this stage. But again, I was maybe a month behind in the planting as well, so again, there's no hurry, no rush. It will do its own thing once I just get the delicious tubers out of it. And the tubers I'm growing them from is something I saved from my last season's crop. And then we have Maiju and Oca. So Maiju, this is very typical for us, that it will just grow quite slow, and now once September starts, once the autumn or fall starts and up to the frost, that's where it should put the biggest growth into the tubers underground, and so is with the Oca. And on Oca, I've seen a couple of the yellow flowers on it. There's another couple new ones coming as well. And it would be really exciting to see now what actually comes out of them, because they're all different colors as well, and obviously we don't know, we've never experienced the flavor of it, so this is really exciting. This is not your tomatoes and potatoes. This is just something to see if and how they grow in our climate. And actually the Maiju and Oca have been here, literally here behind the greenhouse, facing south, east, southwest, but then they get sort of the late afternoon shade from the slatted wall here, but they've been outside here ever since, again from June onwards. And I haven't done anything about them during the summer. I haven't fed them, just made sure that they didn't dry out. And obviously they are exposed to the elements from the full south, but a bit sheltered from the southwest winds. And yeah, they seem to be doing all right. So we just have to wait another couple of months to see what is actually under the soil. And lastly, what I'd be sowing is green manure, obviously directly to the bed that you are not going to plant into, or you haven't sown anything else into, and you're sort of just want to put it to bed for winter. But this way, rather than leaving it empty, and during the winter the rain or snow and cold is going to drain the nutrients out of the bed down into the lower levels of the soil, you can use a cover crop on it, and that will keep the top surface of the soil where the roots are in still healthy and living, and it will replenish all the nutrients that otherwise have been lost during the previous growing season, or then otherwise would have been lost during the winter. So it's handy if you don't want to mulch it heavily with something else, or you don't even have something to mulch the beds with, so you don't have access to manure, or you just don't want to use it. Cover crops, yeah, or the green manures are great for that. And yeah, mustard is what I'm using, and very successful, cold tolerant, but the frosts will kill it, and if the frosts don't kill it, you do need to chop it down. No need to dig it in or anything, but just to chop it down and then plant your new vegetables into it, your new crops into it. Then what I am sowing that is a bit different, and if I could get the sterile variety, which you could really only propagate from root cuttings, I would prefer to have that, but I haven't been able to get it. It's not as popular in Ireland. So, and one kind other YouTuber did send it to me from UK as well, but there was a massive delay in the postage of it, and it ended up coming through totally rotten. But I so appreciated his efforts, at least even tried to send it. But you can still get the common variety of it. And the plant I'm talking about is comfrey. So comfrey is a really beneficial for insects. It has a massively deep root that goes down into the ground, and then it takes up its nutrients from much lower levels than most of the plants ever would. It is great for pollinators. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by butterflies. So it's a well-known plant. It's an old plant to have, medicinal plant to have in your gardens, well known in the cottage gardens. A great plant to have even in your fruit tree guilds, widely used in permaculture as well. But as I said, I was not successful to get a Bucking 14 variety, which is the sterile variety of it. So I'm going with the common one. And perhaps we shouldn't be as afraid of the common variety either, even though it can spread, and because of its big taproot, it would be quite hard to get rid of it once it establishes itself, and obviously it has a potential to self-seed and take over bigger areas. But I am planning to, as long as the seeds now germinate, I am planning to plant it into quite a far corner. I probably wouldn't use it near waterways, because obviously no waterways would just carry any kind of new seeds further down. But yeah, I'm thinking near compost, the big compost heaps in the orchard. That's where I would plant them. And the main reason why I do want to grow it is for its leaves, because as the plant is taking up all these nutrients from the ground, they're also going to be in the leaves then afterwards. So they're going to be great as an actual nutritious mulch. So these were my sowings for the month of September. Obviously some of them I've done already, and then others I'll be doing towards the end of the month. And I'm delighted to show you the update on those yacon, oca, mashua and ginger. And these are some of my sowings, the previous sowings that really do need to be planted out now. So let me know what you're sowing, or is it something different that you have planned for yourself for this month? And just let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks a million for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, bye.